Tyreek Hill, one of the most explosive wide receivers in the NFL, sent shockwaves throughout the league when he said in a post-game interview, "I'm out." Hill, who had been a key factor in the Dolphins' success in 2022 and 2023, might have hinted that he wanted to be traded. And that's a tough pill to swallow, trading away your star wide receiver like the Dolphins may be doing. But looking back at teams who made similar moves, including the Kansas City Chiefs with Tyreek Hill, the Tennessee Titans with A.J. Brown, and the Minnesota Vikings with Stephon Diggs, those teams were able to trade their star wide receivers with differing results. So what do these trades tell us? And how can they inform us on what the Dolphins may do with Tyreek Hill? Let's dive into these trades to see if the Dolphins should think twice about moving on from Tyreek Hill. In 2022, the Kansas City Chiefs shocked the world when they traded Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins for 5 draft picks. Hill had been an integral part of the offense for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was an explosive element to an explosive quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. But as the Chiefs prepared for the future, they realized that trading away Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins could present an opportunity for them to build their offensive line and their defense to make them a more well-balanced team. And what did the Chiefs do after trading away Tyreek Hill? Of course, they went on to win the Super Bowl and hoist their second Lombardi trophy of the Patrick Mahomes era. While Tyreek Hill's departure was certainly a big change for quarterback Patrick Mahomes, it didn't slow the team down. Mahomes adapted, spreading the ball to other playmakers around the field, most notably Travis Kelce, who became the de facto #1 wide receiver in the offense. While Hill was missed, the Chiefs proved that you can win without having a star wide receiver if you're willing to reimagine the offense and get other playmakers involved. So what can the Dolphins learn from the Chiefs' trade of Tyreek Hill? Well, for starters, it could mean that the Dolphins can use the trade assets that they get from Tyreek Hill to build up their defense and to build up their offense. Though the Dolphins have 10 picks in the draft in 2025, they would need some more picks if they can get them in order to repair a defense that seems to be aging and losing a lot of talent. And they need to replace an offensive line that's really struggled in the last few seasons. So let me ask you guys, do you guys think the Dolphins should trade away Tyreek Hill? And if they did, could they build a more balanced offense and defense around Tua Tagovailoa the way the Chiefs did? Let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear your thoughts. Next, let's take a look at the Tennessee Titans. In 2022, they traded star wide receiver A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles, and that move backfired in the worst way. Not only did the Tennessee Titans get spanked by the Philadelphia Eagles in A.J. Brown's homecoming game, but it ended up causing both general manager and the head coach to lose their jobs in 2022. So the A.J. Brown trade really left the Tennessee Titans in shambles. Brown was a big part of the passing game for the Tennessee Titans, and without him, the offense pretty much fell apart. Ryan Tannehill could not put the offense on his back, and that's even with having a guy like Derrick Henry in the backfield. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown thrived in Philadelphia. Not only were they able to make it to the Super Bowl, but they lost in overtime, which shows you how close the game was. If a couple plays changed here and there, maybe they would have been the Super Bowl champions in 2022 and not the Kansas City Chiefs. But A.J. Brown's impact was evident. The offense became better, and it all was because of the trade for A.J. Brown. The Dolphins, with Tua Tagovailoa on the roster, must decide whether Tua can elevate a team like Patrick Mahomes does, and they don't need to replace the #1 wide receiver, or if he isn't as talented as Patrick Mahomes is, which most of us probably don't think he is, then they will need to get a star wide receiver, or at least a #1 wide receiver, to fill Tyreek Hill's role. So this is my question for you guys. Do you guys think the Dolphins could suffer a similar fate to the Tennessee Titans if they traded away Tyreek Hill? Could Tua and the offense be effective even without Tyreek Hill? Let me know in the comment section below. Again, I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Now let's take a look at the Minnesota Vikings, who traded away their star wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, to the Buffalo Bills in 2020. Stephon Diggs and the Minnesota Vikings came to a contract impasse, and it caused them to trade their #1 wide receiver. He went on to the Buffalo Bills and led the league in receptions and receiving yards, and helped to propel Josh Allen into being an elite quarterback in the NFL. The Minnesota Vikings, meanwhile, did not have an elite quarterback on their team, so they probably didn't believe that they could get by just distributing the ball. They wanted to find a one-to-one replacement for Stephon Diggs. And here's where it gets interesting. They were able to draft Justin Jefferson, who is now one of the, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL. So, what can the Dolphins take away from the Minnesota Vikings trading Stephon Diggs? It's pretty simple. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, you need to replace that number one wide receiver on your team. And the Vikings were able to do that with Justin Jefferson, and he's now one of the elite premier players in the NFL. But this is what good teams do, they find ways to fill holes in their roster with not just adequate replacement, but exceptional replacements. Now, ironically, the Bills went on to trade Stephon Diggs. Even after having all of that success, they traded him prior to the 2024 season because they were moving on from becoming dependent on one guy. And after trading Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans, the Bills were able to replace Stephon Diggs with Mac Hollins in free agency and Keon Coleman in the draft. So they were able to spread the ball around to their tight ends and other playmakers on offense, and they didn't have to be reliant on just one guy. So here's my question to you guys. Do you guys think if the Dolphins traded away Tyreek Hill, that they can find their Justin Jefferson in the draft? Do you think the Dolphins should replace Tyreek Hill with a rookie wide receiver? Let me know in the comments section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. So, what can we learn from all of these trades? The Chiefs and the Bills both proved that you can trade away a number one wide receiver as long as you're willing to reimagine the offense and distribute the ball to other playmakers on the field. And it certainly doesn't hurt that they have franchise quarterbacks on the roster. Another takeaway is trading a star wide receiver without replacing him can completely destroy your team. You need to have a clear plan in place if you plan to move on from that star wide receiver. The Tennessee Titans didn't, and it caused their entire franchise to blow up in one season. The third takeaway is this: trading an elite wide receiver is a risky proposition. The Vikings' trade of Stephon Diggs worked really because they were able to draft Justin Jefferson. However, as we've seen with the Tennessee Titans example, this isn't always the case. Miami could look to draft a player to replace Tyreek Hill, but there's no guarantee that would happen. And even if they signed a guy as a free agent, there's no guarantee that he'll have the kind of impact for the team as Tyreek Hill did. Ultimately, these trades show us that these wide receivers are very vital towards shaping an NFL offense. However, the success or the failure comes in what happens to those franchises afterwards. The Chiefs and the Bills were able to redesign their offenses, while the Minnesota Vikings replaced Stephon Diggs with Justin Jefferson. For the Miami Dolphins, it isn't just about the draft picks if they want to trade away Tyreek Hill. It also has to do with what type of team they want to be going forward, what type of offense they want to be going forward. Do they want to replace Tyreek Hill with a one-to-one replacement, or do they want to redesign their offense and distribute the ball more? So what do you guys think? Could Miami replicate what the Chiefs and Bills did and create a more balanced offense? Or could Tyreek Hill's trade ultimately hurt the Dolphins if they're not able to either find an adequate replacement or redesign the offense? Let me know in the comments section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's it for this video. If you like this video, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to get all the latest content. And leave a comment in the section below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.